What is going on, FA Nation? John Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm MLB DFS Game Day Playbook Show. Today, we're looking at the 8-game main slate over on DraftKings. We had some nice day baseball earlier today. We did the previous show, you and I, for the 5-game early slate. Some performances we certainly weren't expecting. You know, Kyle Hendricks going out there and just dominating the Giants. But that Giants offense is coming through late. The Jorge Soler grand slam. If you played him, you're obviously making some money there. So some good day baseball, but now we turn our attention here to what is a pretty interesting 8-game main slate here, James.
Yeah, I mean, there's elite starting pitching from top to bottom, and I think that's mainly due to the turn in the rotation, but also like some guys returning, some guys mispriced, and partner that with the fact we have Coors on the slate as well, with the Dodgers there, and we saw what happened last night. That game was over until it was the 9th inning, and then it wasn't. And then the Dodgers exploded, and the rest is history, obviously. But a really interesting slate with the amount of good pitching and with Coors, and honestly, there's still plenty of spots to attack outside of Coors as well.
Agreed. Our guy Pod Degen Stoner in the chat here. A lot of comments this morning on the early show. We appreciate you tuning in with the support. If you guys have any questions, or comments, feel free to toss them in the chat. I'm more than happy to help you all out. If you haven't already hit that like, hit that share button. It's a free way to support the work we do here over on the Fantasy Alarm channels. And of course, if you're not yet a member of the Fantasy Alarm family, today is the day to do so. Get your first month for less than $20 with Fantasy Alarm promo code Let's Go at checkout. That's fantasyalarm.com/win. Use promo code Let's Go at checkout. Get your first month for less than $20. Fantasy football season is quickly approaching. Our fantasy football draft guide will be out soon. That draft guide is included in your Fantasy Alarm subscription. So get ready for the fantasy football season with us here at Fantasy Alarm. Access to all of our premium content right there with Fantasy Alarm promo code Let's Go. Again, that first month, less than $20. James, let's get into it. I want to jump right here to Gerrit Cole because I got to get your thoughts. One, as a Yankees fan. Two, what your expectations are, what the team's expectations are. This matchup against Baltimore here. Gerrit Cole, when right, is not a $9,000 starting pitcher. So Where are you with Cole here today?
I mean, he was the best pitcher in baseball last year, right? Won the Cy Young. He is $2,000 too cheap at, like you said, he's $2,000 too cheap at full capacity. But I think that's the key, full capacity. He only threw 12 1/3 in his rehab assignment. He maxed out at just under 70 pitches. There is no chance, as important as like a game against the Baltimore is, there's just no chance that he is like full go and extended. There's just not a chance. When you've made 12 rehab innings, not just coming off a injury, right?
Yeah.
He came off the injury. Like, didn't elect to get Tommy John. That was obviously a concern. We've seen this in the past with former Yankee Masahiro Tanaka, like electing to not go with the Tommy John. And Tanaka was fine. He was fine. But like wasn't as good. We'll see. He was dominant in his last rehab. He had 10 strikeouts in that like 4 1/3 innings. And when you like pair that with the ownership that he's getting today, it's crazy. He's the highest rostered pitcher of the day.
Yeah.
And hasn't pitched a big league inning, faces one of the best offenses in baseball this year, and there's going to be a cap. And I understand, like, if Gerrit Cole strikes out 10 guys over 5 scoreless innings tonight, well, you're going to be happy with a 9K Gerrit Cole.
Right.
But also, when you look at pitchers, the landscape of the position today, I can rattle off 7 guys, John, that could potentially pitch into like the 8th inning tonight with 10 strikeouts. Like, there's a lot of really good pitchers not on the cap that Gerrit Cole will most certainly be on. Plus, when you look at Gerrit Cole versus the field, like of every other top arm, like he has the toughest matchup of all of them.
Right.
Baltimore, sans Jordan Westberg tonight, but like, okay, they just have another top 5 prospect in baseball that they plug into the lineup without Westberg. So I understand it, and even to Coach Chris's point, salute to you, Coach Chris, always supporting the channel. Like I get it if you're playing multiple lineups, like sure, but one, it's his first return, and two, like he's the highest rostered pitcher of the slate. That's where my pause really turns to.
Like you said, I think best case scenario tonight would be like 85 pitches. And if he goes 85 pitches, I think that's best case, right?
Like absolute best case scenario.
Absolute max ceiling is 85 pitches because he threw the 70 or whatever in his last rehab start. So there is a level of build up there. You got to think he's at least throwing 70 in this start as a minimum baseline. So give him an extra inning, works over 15 pitches, an extra inning. So maybe he goes 6, like you said. And that's assuming that he is out there and he is just mowing them down. And then, yeah, you're right. He's going to go out there and he'll score 25, 30 fantasy points with the Yankees. Heavy favorites here today. The win equity is built in with Garrett Cole. But like you said, if he only goes 5 and he goes 5 shutout, then you need 9 strikeouts there, right. 8 strikeouts. But it doesn't surprise me. The ownership is where it is because it's Garrett Cole and he's $9,000. And the next start he makes, if he throws 80, 85 pitches tonight, he is going to be 10-5. And you've missed the window. So like Coach Chris there, one-off lineup today, a 3 max, throw one in there and Garrett Cole. But you're not getting him at an ownership discount today. No. So it's not as if you're being contrarian. But as you mentioned, the top guy here, Cole Reagan's at $9,800 against Oakland. Great spot for him there. Joe Ryan against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is one of the worst teams in baseball against right-handed pitching. I know Pablo Lopez yesterday did not come through the way we had hoped again, but Joe Ryan is at least pitching much better than Lopez's pitch this year. So willing to run that one there at 95. The Crochet one is interesting, right? Because Coach Chris has Crochet here. We talked about the Tarek Skubal matchup last week against Houston. And I said, I do not want to go against Houston as a lefty when they have a 15% strikeout rate against left-handed pitching. And Skubal had just 2 strikeouts in that game. I understand that Garrett Crochet's got like a 12.5 K per 9 and like a 35% strikeout rate, but Houston just doesn't strike out. So his strikeout projection today is just 6. That's worrisome for me with Garrett Crochet.
Yeah, so we'll start there. I do think it's interesting when you look at Houston's lineup. Yordan Alvarez not included again. He's dealing with a personal matter. So they just released their lineup. Altuve, Dubois, Bregman, Yanair Diaz, Jeremy Pena, Myers, Caratini, McCormick, Hummel. Not a potent lineup. But like you said, it doesn't matter. Like if I'm paying $9,200, it's the same reason you're paying $9,000 for Garrett Cole. Like it's for strikeout equity, right? And I think that I have that with Reagan's, although we'll touch on, I have something to talk about with Reagan's. I definitely have that with Peralta against the Angels, and I definitely have that with Joe Ryan against the Rays. What gives here, right? Whatever the phrase is that I messed up the other day is oh
God, immovable object versus like whatever it was. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I didn't say it correctly. It was very wrong. I understand. My bad. I'll take the L there. You looked it up. The next day we came back. We were better. I forgot it already. I'm sorry.
I don't remember it.
I have 2 kids. I can't remember anything.
Yeah.
But like, if he faced a non-strikeout team in Toronto, had 4 strikeouts. He faced a Washington team with 6 strikeouts. Like, there's like no win equity here. The inanimate object one. Yeah, whatever, dude. And I don't disagree with the Garrett Crochet play because he is as many strikeouts as anyone else on the slate, but
he only had 4 Ks in that game, like you said, against Toronto. So
and 6 against Washington, who is another team who doesn't strike out. So there have been matchups where he has faced teams that don't strike out, and he hasn't gotten strikeouts. So I'm indifferent about Crochet. I think if you want to play him. He's obviously has a ceiling.
Yeah.
The 2 guys I'm in on are Peralta and Ryan. And okay, I put out this question on Twitter today. Oakland is a very strange team when it comes to left-handed pitching, John. They are like, they strike out a bunch. They are bottom 10 in most categories. You know where they rank in isolated power against left?
Isn't it like 3 or something like that?
Well, if that's the last time you look, they've moved. They're second now.
Okay, yeah.
They're second. And Cole Reagan's like doesn't allow a lot of home runs. He has not allowed a lot. 3 over his last 2 starts was the equivalent to what he allowed his first 13 starts of the year. But like, that's obviously some type of regression. And I don't know. Like, there's something about just saving a couple $100 on a core slate that led me to Peralta in elite spot against the Angels. I know the Peralta numbers have looked terrible lately. A lot of really bad luck, a lot of peripheral numbers suggesting that there's a great turn. Still has an elite K per 9 over 11. So I really like Peralta in this spot. We just saw last night what a righty does to the Angels.
Yeah, Myers at 6,500 made me some money to last night.
Yeah, both of us. And Joe Ryan gets a Tampa Bay team, although they did hit Pablo Lopez last night. Elevated strikeout rate, over 25% against right-handed pitching, bottom 10 in basically every category, and bottom 5 in most of them against right-handed pitching.
You know what I like about Ryan tonight is his projected outs at 18.5. So like they're projecting him to go deep in the game, right? So like,
yep, into the 7th. I think this is an elite 9K tier. And John, I don't even know if we need to use them. I'm just gonna throw that out there. As we move down, I don't even know if we need to use any of them.
Well, I know we want Hunter Brown at 7K. Well, he's been the focal point of a lot of tweets from you today, and obviously I did my underdog sleeper and prize picks articles. Hunter Brown was all over that. I also like the guy opposite of Joe Ryan in that matchup, and Taj Bradley here today. Again, strikeout per 11.7 K per 9 for Taj Bradley. Now, I get if you go and sample size it, the last month or so, Minnesota really isn't striking out a ton against right-handed pitching. Overall, they're kind of in the middle of the pack here. But I think I'm going to take talent over matchup, I think, here. Bradley's a stud in the making here. He had one bad outing. Baltimore beat him up. Everything else has been pretty elite. So at 8K, you're looking for some upside. Give me some Taj Bradley here.
I think that's bingo. I think that's the big. He's my bingo GPP play of the day because we saw what Taj Bradley looks like. Like, obviously, there's blow up potential. He's done it twice. That Boston game where he allowed 5 runs and lost the game, just to give you like a basis of where his like ceiling's floor can be. He had 10 strikeouts and had 22 fantasy points in a game he lost and gave up 5 runs in. Like, he is just a strikeout wizard outside of that Baltimore game. And then he came back up against Baltimore next time out, 5 innings, 1 run, 7 Ks. Like, how you doing? I'm that dude. 18 strikeouts in his last 2 starts. The pitch count has been amazing on Taj Bradley. The walks are a little bit obvious of a concern. I think that's like the one thing that isn't great with Taj Bradley and drives up the pitch count a lot and doesn't allow him to go like 7.
Even in that Boston start, 92 pitches. Like
92
he went 7 innings and that he gave up the home runs and that did the run damage against him. But outside of that, he was pretty dominant again. Baltimore hung 4 homers on him. Like I said, the only thing that hurts him here today is the win equity. Obviously, Minnesota's favorite. Joe Ryan, obviously a popular play here today, but this could be a spot where you could stack both starting pitchers if you want. Like I think there's a really nice ceiling for Taj Bradley here today. And if you're not, because Coors is on the slate and the Dodgers are expensive, I got a lineup I sent to you guys. I started with Taj Bradley, like Taj Bradley and Hunter Brown were my 2 starting pitchers in that lineup,
Yep, that's exactly my pairing as well.
And you're getting Bradley at 10% projected right now.
You're getting him at 10%, and I don't know if this is going to change. Did you see Hunter Brown's ownership? This was the most shocking thing of the day to me, that he was 12% projected. Like, we've talked about the White Sox a lot lately and how they've been better, right? Like, they just have been better. But they're better against lefties. They're not better against righties. No. They still rank nearly last in every offensive category against right-handed pitching this year with an elevated strikeout rate. It's not like anything's changed in their lineup. I mean, I know Luis Robert has a ton of power against righties, a ton of power against lefties as well. This is Andrew Vaughn's worst split. This is Tommy Pham's worst split. And we're talking about Hunter Brown, who since May, over his last 5 starts, essentially, 1.75 ERA, 167 opponent batting average, 29.7% strikeout rate, 60% ground ball rate. Dude, 30% K rate, 59% ground ball rate. He is not letting anything up in the air, and no line drives, nothing in the air, all on the ground or strikeouts. Like,
yeah,
what's the disconnect here between price, ownership, matchup? Like,
yeah,
what are we missing?
I don't even know either, because again, Hunter Brown, a core part of my sleeper prize picks and underdog plays today. His fantasy point projections over there, sleeper was like 28.5, prize picks was like 32.5. Underdog was around the same thing. So like they're, not really projecting him all that well either. And this is a guy, the last couple of starts, they use like FanDuel scoring over there, 58, 49, 34, 46 fantasy points over his last 4. Strikeouts 9, 7, 7, 9 during that stretch. I mean, he's been really good. Quality starts in 5 straight outings. Got wins in 2 of those games. Maybe you're worried about the win equity because you think Garrett Crochet is going to shut down Houston today and you're not going to get the wins. He's 7K on DraftKings. He's only 7,800 on FanDuel.
I know.
Our guy, DePrince in there asked him about FanDuel lineups. Dude, DePrince, Hunter Brown's probably my starting pitcher over on FanDuel today because I want to pay up for the Dodger bats. And he's $7,800. Pitchers over on FanDuel generally 10K and above. 78 might as well be a 6K starting pitcher on DraftKings. So free play, I think, for me over there. Hunter Brown for sure. Him and Bradley in the mid tier. Were you going any lower?
Not lower. I did have Sean Manaea written up in the playbook today as kind of a pivot. Outside of 2 bad starts against Philly and Arizona, who are very good left-handed hitting teams, he has been rock solid this year. And the Rangers have really struggled against left-handed pitching. 22nd in OPS and WOBA, 24th in WRC+, 25th in ISO. The strikeouts are not necessarily there. And Manaea's really shut down right-handed hitters specifically. Lefties have given him a little bit of a trouble. It's a smaller sample. Obviously, Seager's there. Obviously, Josh Smith has been a wagon against both sides of the plate. So there are some concerns, but not like many with the way that the rest of the lineup has really handled lefties. So
yeah,
I know the almighty Robbie Grossman's back in the lineup, and like we just got a Dodgers lineup, by the way, Chris. So we'll read that off to you in a second. It's very interesting. When there's no Will Smith or Mookie Betts, it's very interesting.
Yeah.
But I do think there's some appeal to Manaea. Like, I really like the Mets today. So for me, it's like Mets have won 7 in a row. Their offense is clicking. There's win equity. And when I was writing it up, I was like, oh, well, Hunter Brown's going to be 95% roster. Not realistically, but he's going to be yesterday's Alec Marsh, who was 60% roster.
Right.
In single entry. I was like, well, the pivot off of a 60% player, Sean Manaea for $200 more, it's not too costly, and doesn't really matter to play Sean Manaea if this Hunter Brown ownership holds up, because like there's
that's perfectly fine by me. And Coach Chris, like you said, we'll have the lineup read off to you here in a moment. And DePrince, I'll get a FanDuel lineup for you at the end of the show. Just hang with us when we get the DraftKings lineup up. I'll build a FanDuel lineup for you to take a peek at there as well.
Want to hear Dodgers? So here's your Dodgers lineup.
Yeah, give us Dodgers lineup.
Otani, Freeman, Teoscar, Pages, Jay Hay, fresh off his pinch hit grand slam, hitting 5th. Gavin Lux 6, Kevin Biggio 7, Enrique Kike Hernandez 8, and Austin Barnes 9.
It's not a strong second half of that lineup.
No. I will say lefties are what Ryan Feltner cannot get out. So
yeah, which is
a lot of lefties.
I was gonna say not a good lineup for that then, if that ends up being the case, because there's 6 lefties in that lineup, 7 lefties.
6. Yeah, no, 5 lefties.
5 lefties. Okay.
Freeman, Otani, Freeman, and then a stretch of 3 in a row hitting 5 through 7.
Alrighty. Catcher here. What are your thoughts on this position? Trevino against Bovic at 3,100 for a spend down option. Every other game at a homer for him right now for Trevino there. So we got that going. Alvarez coming off of a big day. Gets Heaney at 34 were some of the spend downs I was looking at. What are you looking at today?
So this is definitely a day you could have spent up. I was in on Will Smith. Obviously, he's not playing. I'm in on William Contreras against Tyler Anderson today. I am anti Tyler Anderson. His peripheral stats are terrible. He got out of a ton of jams last time out after getting blown up the start before. I like Milwaukee quite a bit. So if I'm spending up, Contreras is interesting. I think Salvi against Medina is very interesting. You know that ballpark is top 6 in runs scored per game. I find that very interesting in Oakland this year.
What?
Top 6 in scoring this year.
Okay.
I found that a little bit interesting. I like Salvi. I like KC quite a bit. Those guys would be up at the top for me. Gary Sanchez, if he cracks the lineup, he hits lefties really well. Francisco Alvarez, 3,400. I know the numbers have historically been better against right-handed pitching for Francisco Alvarez throughout his young career. But he did have a 160 ISO against lefties last year.
Yeah.
Obviously been really, really good in back-to-back games, 3 hits in each of the last 2. I like the Mets. There's 7 to 8 guys I'd be interested in playing on the Mets tonight, which is insane. But they're scorching hot offensively, and they're ranked top 6 in basically every offensive category against left-handed pitching. So I like Francisco Alvarez, 34. Trevino is really interesting because he's one of the only Yankees that actually hit lefties well.
Yeah. And then if you like William Contreras, you probably like Gary Sanchez there against Anderson as well.
Yes.
For some power there. Let's move on to first base. Again, Ohtani, Freeman are up at the top. Alonso gets a lefty and Heaney there. Certainly some matchups that if we can afford to take advantage of, we're going to look to do so.
Yes. Ohtani's gone in the first 2 games of Coors, 21, 26 fantasy points. And if you want to just backtrack it, he has 3 straight games of 20 fantasy points.
Did you see the prank they pulled on him as if he was going to get pinch hit for?
No.
So they had
in the 9th?
Nah, it was I think it was in the first game against Colorado. They had the manager walked up to Ohtani. It's they put a lefty in. We're gonna use Miguel Vargas, and Vargas put a helmet on and walked up the steps. And Ohtani was like, wait a minute, for real? I'm being pinch hit for here. He was honestly thinking it was serious, and then they all laughed at him, and he probably homered, because
he did because he did. He has been really good. If you can get to him. Feltner has been super trash against lefties and lefties at home, and that's why him and Freeman I think are the 2 best spends of the slate. Ryan Feltner at home against left-handed pitching this year, John, has allowed 2.93 home runs per 9 innings. It's a lot of home runs. That is 3 home runs per 9.
Yeah.
It's a lot of, that's so, obviously you can't equate, that doesn't mean he's going to give up 3 home runs today because he's not going to pitch 9 innings. But, that's a lot of home runs to lefties. So I love Ohtani Freeman. I also love the guy right below them in Pete Alonso. He has a big-time ISO, over 200. I think it's 250 against left-handed pitching. Love any of the top 3. I like Vinny Pasquantino. I like him more on FanDuel where he's sub $3,000. I think the Royals are a very interesting stack on FanDuel because they're so cheap outside of Bobby Witt. On DraftKings, they're still a little expensive, like Salvi's $5K or whatever. So I think you could play 4 of the top 5 guys, and this is definitely a position I think.
If you are looking to spend down at the first base position today, is there a value player too that you have on your radar?
I understand getting to a Carlos Santana with how good he's been, and Taj Bradley has struggled with power specifically. So if you want to go there, that's fine. Willie Calhoun's going to hit in the middle of their lineup, but that's it. I really don't. I don't think that this is a position that we need to really waste our time.
Second base, I have a value play that we'll talk about, but if you're looking to spend up today, there is a lot of matchups. Altuve, Semien up here against Crochet and Manaya. Right splits for both of those guys. Obviously, Crochet could pose as a tough matchup. Torres against Povich at $4,200. You have all the Coors plays. But I mean, I'm a Jose Iglesias guy. 3K. The man is hitting 500 against left-handed pitching. No, small sample size, but he's 8 for 16 with 2 doubles here. And this is something that I've harped on for a very long time. These are the last handful of seasons Iglesias against left-handed pitching, not counting this year. 295 average, 297, 375 in 2020, hit 318 in 2018. It's just a thing with him, right? He doesn't always bring a ton of power, obviously, but 340 Wobas, 380 Woba, 500 this year. You want to punt down at second base today because you're looking to spend up. Give me some Jose Iglesias.
Yeah, I think he's actually one of 3 guys you could spend down with because he hits lefties extremely well. One of 8 Mets that you can realistically roster
Coach
tonight.
Chris feeling that. I have so many Mets.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. Like, yeah. Because but you have to Coach Chris, you have to put into context, what Grimace has done for this team. Like, he's turned them around. They're 7-0 since Grimace threw out the first pitch, right? Like, it's, Grimace has turned this franchise around, and Steve Cohen's about to spend $1 billion, I'm sure. I think Iglesias is one of 3, as I mentioned. Spencer Horwitz, $3,400 leading off tonight. Really hard not to like this matchup. Brian Bayo's been a little bit unlucky, but he has not been unlucky against lefties. They have hit him really hard. 355 OBP, 512 slug, 376 Woba, and over 2 home runs per 9 innings.
That's been his trend for his career so far. This lefty power has just hammered him.
Right, and he's a ground baller, which is concerning because when you're allowing over 2 home runs per 9 innings to left-handed.
It's just like the break of your pitches, right? They're just breaking into lefties and they're golfing them out. So,
Horwitz currently, it's a small sample, I get it, leads them in OPS against right-handed pitching, 875. So I love Horwitz, and obviously Gavin Lux hitting 6th. I'm not in love with the play of Gavin Lux, but at least he's hitting 6th and he's a lefty against
my fear,
that's the one
my
thing
fear
we can hang our hat on
is that one of those 2 guys could be him or Kevin Biggio could be a pinch hit. As soon as the lefty comes in the game, right?
Will Smith,
Miguel Rojas or Vargas or somebody like that. Like, they just immediately come in the game whenever a lefty is on the mound. So, but yeah, you could get it early. You can certainly get it early and hope that he comes through for you there. Are you interested in spending up at all here? No, I felt the same way. Third base. Talk to me.
You can always play Royce Lewis because he hits home runs every day that ends in day. So he has 1 for every day this year. You can obviously play Devers. I think the Red Sox, a little bit sneaky. We talked about the Kevin Gausman struggles against lefties the last time he was on the slate.
Whole lot of lefties in the lineup today. Breaks my heart. No Ceddanne Rafael in the lineup today because if you can sit a guy hitting 400 for a month, you got to do it.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I think that's a good
David Hamilton is back in the lineup, so
can't play them both though. Why would you want to play them both? So you can definitely play Devers. Maikel Garcia much better on FanDuel, way too expensive on DraftKings. I do think that the Josh Smith thing is a little bit interesting here because Manaya has struggled versus lefties. Smith is hitting over 300, clearing 300 by a good margin against lefties too. He's scorching hot, over 400 over his last 10 games, 1,200 OPS. So definitely like Smith coming off the IL. But we just Mark Vientos is just the clear-cut. I would say per dollar best second baseman on the board, and it's not even close. He has a 1,200 OPS against left-handed pitching versus a guy.
Third base.
What'd I say? Second base, third base. He's against a guy who's allowing a lot of home runs to right-handed bats, a lot of home runs per 9 to right-handed bats. Like, it's dude, he is just the best third baseman per dollar play of the slate. I really like the Mets middle of the lineup. I like that he's not hitting 7th anymore, and he's slowly creeping up up the lineup to 6th. I just, if you're starting a cash lineup, it's Mark Vientos. If you're building tournaments and you're playing Mets, I would feel like you're missing something if you're not
He's
playing the
under
best
3K on
player against
FanDuel as
left-handed
well.
pitcher on there.
I agree.
It's crazy.
Great spot for him. I think Duran is also kind of interesting here. 2,800 against Manaya. I know you mentioned Manaya better against righties, the reverse splits, but I don't mind Duran for the reverse stack there if you want to. Anything else for you, third base?
Yeah, I mean, the Brewers probably lead Joey Ortiz off. I mentioned I like the Brewers tonight against Tyler Anderson, so Ortiz. And the Blue Jays are playing Addison Barger again, third base outfielder. He's $2,200. He was called up like a week ago. He's had a hit or better in all 3 games. Little power, little speed. Hit like 28 home runs in the minor leagues 2 years ago. And again, lefties against Brian Bayo. I think Barger presents. Obviously, there's no connection with him and Horwitz, which kind of stinks because I would love the 2-man stack. But I do think a lefty against Bayo at 2,200 with like a pretty good minor league pedigree.
Shortstop again, a lot of top end talent here. Bobby Witt against Medina is $6,500. Gunnar Henderson, if you're thinking maybe Garrett Cole has some rust there, lefty power bat in New York always tends to play 63. Seager, lefty on Manaya. You get Tovar versus Miller here. Lindor versus Heaney at $4,800. Feels pretty good there. Volpe against Povich. A loaded shortstop position.
Absolutely loaded. Kind of surprised to see Francisco Lindor as the highest rostered position player today. I found that a little bit interesting, but I understand it. It's not that I don't like understand why people are gravitating to Lindor. He's been great lately. He's been great against left-handed pitching. 858 OPS, 230 ISO. Great numbers. Against a guy who allows a lot of home runs. Also has a super elevated ERA at home. In a ballpark in the ballpark in Texas. So we have that going for Lindor. I really like Bobby Witt if you can afford it. It's obviously very hard to afford it with cores on the slate, but as an alt stack or just wanting to play like one of the best players in baseball, Luis Medina has struggled against right-handed pitching for the last year plus. Obviously, Tovar. I think the Rockies. I haven't gotten the Rockies right in 2 days. They were really good last night. They were really bad the night before. I played them in reverse. I played them 2 nights ago. Didn't play them last night.
I played the wrong Rockies on the
that's
first
how the story
game.
goes.
Against Paxton. So, yeah, played Tovar, played them. They didn't do anything against the bullpen, so.
Nope. But I do think it's a little bit interesting because Bobby Miller had gotten lit up in his rehab, and like they're just like, all right, well, welcome back, Bobby. You get Coors Field as your first go around, right? Like he's a fastball heavy guy who throws really hard, but that obviously sometimes doesn't necessarily play in Coors Field. So Tovar very interesting to me. Volpe, good spot. Hasn't been great against lefties like he was last year. Yankees watered down lineup a little bit without Judge tonight. I would say I don't like seeing Gleyber Torres hitting 5th. I don't like seeing Verdugo hitting so high against lefties. He has not been that good this year. So I don't have like a lot of interest in Volpe or like the Yankees outside of like Volpe, Soto, and Trevino. But Correa 4,600, Smith, Hamilton. The list really.
I was gonna say Hamilton's a little interesting because Gossman is a guy that allows a lot of stolen bases against him. So, and then you look at the numbers, obviously against lefties this year, 507 slug, 365 weighted on base against him here. So, if Hamilton gets on, he's going to run. So, I think that could be at least a little bit interesting here.
Yeah, I mean, I do like playing lefties against Gossman, and there's like David Hamilton's been amazing. Just get him on first, and he's going to steal your base, hitting in front of Devers, hitting in front of like the guys that he's hitting in front of, like the way that Tyler O'Neill's playing right now. I mean, dude, there's a lot of run scoring equity with David.
All right. Any other shortstops?
No, I don't think there's any value. I think the one you mentioned, Ezekiel Duran, is fine. The Oakland Athletic lineup just came out. They're leading off Schumann again. I don't know if that doesn't really make a difference.
Outfield has Ohtani. Obviously, it's $7,000 again. Had a price decrease yesterday at $6,900, up to $7K again here today. Soto below him. No Judge in the lineup after getting hit by the hand yesterday. We'll see if Soto gets plunked today or not after taking out Westberg. You got Hernandez on the check swing, not check swing home run last night at 6K. If you're looking to spend up today, where are you going?
Yeah, I mean, it's Ohtani. Shocker. I'm being really bold. Teoscar, miracle, like 18 fantasy points last night. That game for the Dodgers was a miracle.
Doing nothing, 11 right? Runs.
9-3 going into the ninth, pinch hit grand slam. I actually went to see how many people played.
How many were out there?
Usually like 0.
Well, sometimes we talk about the Zach Randolph thing 1,000 times during the basketball season, but there are crazy people out there that just play guys who don't play or retired and they go and win tournaments. So,
well, I'm sure like if I went to like the $4 150 max, I'm sure there was like 0.4% didn't check the lineup and left Jason Hayward, right? But nevertheless, Teoscar did homer. Christian Yelich also homered yesterday. Christian Yelich also dominates against left-handed pitching. So I would be perfectly fine. I as you could tell, I'm in on the Brewers today as an alt stack today. So I like any of the top, literally anyone over 5K, I'm perfectly fine with. Like I think Ohtani's the top play. But I think
I'm good 5K. As a contrarian play going with the Boston guys. Duran let us down yesterday. He can run him back against Gausman. O'Neill just keeps hitting home runs.
He has been crazy until he gets hurt.
If he's healthy, he's great. Injury, he'll probably be traded at some point. So we'll see if he.
Boston's been good, right?
They do. They're 2 games out of the wild card, but they're probably going to trade him. Stanton there at 49. If you're looking for some home run, Nolan Jones. You mentioned the Miller stuff there. Where are you in the 4K range?
So Brenton Doyle, I think, is really interesting. We talk about his splits a lot. He was amazing yesterday. He was one of the highest scoring players of the slate yesterday. And how can you deny the at-home numbers against a guy in Bobby Miller who's coming off the IL, making his first start after getting shelled in all of his rehab starts? So I like Brenton Doyle 44. I like Starlin Marte. He's another one who hits lefties extremely well. He'll be a forgotten play in the Mets lineup. Love JD Martinez, 1,100 plus OPS against left-handed pitching this year. He's $4,300 hitting. Those are like 3 guys that I'm very interested in at 4K. I don't really have a lot of interest elsewhere.
Sure. The only one I'll mention, and you've pointed out, obviously, again, Minaya with the splits. Adolis has been absolutely atrocious, but he is 4K after being 5,500, 5K above this entire season. So DraftKings woke up today and was like, Adolis needs to be reduced by $1,000. So, this is a spot where I don't think he's going to be bad forever. So, making one-off lineups and you want to throw in some Adolis in there because Robbie Grossman is hitting third tonight at $2,800. So you can get a pretty cheap 3-4 stack against Sean Manaea here today. If you're not buying what he's selling there on the mound.
I'm okay with it. Some of the expected numbers are a little bit encouraging. Some, not many. His expected WOBA is 313. His WOBA is 293 on the year. His expected slug 441, obviously different than 407.
Yeah, no, he's always a big power guy. His strikeout rate's around the same what it's been. He's walking less this year than last year, but not far off his career numbers. really bad BABIP, 240 versus 280 last year, 300 the 2 years prior to that. So there is like some rest of, you look at like his steamer projections rest of season, like they're pretty good. 16 homers, 49 RBIs. They think he's going to hit around 240 rest of the way. If that ends up happening, like you're not going to be too upset with it. Now we're talking DFS, not daily season long here. So you kind of have to like kind of pick and choose your spots. Overall, none of his numbers are great, but far better against lefties this year than he is against the righties.
Sure.
That's for sure. So, again, if you're just trying to take advantage of the price tag, I don't think it's an awful play necessarily, even if it doesn't come through. This is a guy that, again, 5,500 for most of the season. He's 4K all of a sudden today. So, what else are we looking at for value? You mentioned Hayward, $3,800. Pages is 44. So you're getting those guys in the middle of that lineup today against Feltner as well.
Yeah, I don't hate Pages. Obviously, Feltner's been good against righties versus lefties.
Sure.
But I'm not going to argue with a $4,400 4-hitter in Coors. If you want to play Pages, play him. I prefer a $600 savings going down to Jay who's been really good in the series. Obviously, he only had one at bat yesterday, but one at bat, 4 runs, 4 RBIs, pretty good. Pretty good ratio there. And again, Feltner's bbeen terrible against lefties. Hayward's been great against right-handed pitching. So I think 3,800 for Hayward makes a lot of sense. I would play Cavan at 3,600. He's projected to be really highly rostered, and I understand it. Like, he is multi-position eligible.
You're just jamming in Dodgers at that point.
You're just jamming in Dodgers. Hey, and you know what? Like, I played 5 Dodgers yesterday, and it worked out, right? And I think with the pitching today, you could run it back because they have 5 lefties in their lineup. They have a good middle, like, righty lineup, part of their lineup with Teoscar and Pages. So I'm good with Cavan. Bader hitting 9th. He's hitting lefties fine. Melendez is kind of interesting at 3,300. I mentioned I kind of in on the Royals. He's been hitting for much more power lately. He's super cheap on both DraftKings and FanDuel. Just part of my cheap Royals propaganda there. You mentioned Robbie Grossman, 2,900. So I think there's Jackson Chourio, 3,200. He's waking up. He's against Tyler Anderson. So
sure.
There's a lot of cheap outfielders you can go to today.
All right, let's get a lineup build here. Are we doing the Bradley Brown play?
I think if we're gonna sit here and play Dodgers, I think that makes us feel most comfortable.
All right, catcher. Where are you plugging?
I know you want to play Trevino, so let's just plug Trevino.
Okay. Well, I mean, if you not like Trevino, you're in.
I'm in on Trevino. I'm in on Trevino for sure.
First base.
Freddie.
Okay. Second, Iglesias.
Yeah, we could do that.
Can build my lineup. Third base.
We'll go Ohtani, Hayward in the outfield.
Ohtani, Hayward.
I'll look at your lineup again and make sure we're not building it.
third base.
Vientos. Gotta play Vientos.
Shortstop.
This is a position I want to like. I think there's probably enough. If we probably play Lindor, I would say Lindor's probably
$3,200 for an outfielder remaining.
That's gross, man.
That's right. Doesn't it feel like it's Robbie Grossman at $2,900?
Yeah, it does. I like Mania today, and I think he's been good against lefties. So
right,
or against righties. If you don't want to play him, like, you can play Chourio.
Right? Yeah. Do you think Chourio leads off today, or what do they do?
No, I think they probably lead off Joey Ortiz. That's what they've been doing. But who knows? Like, Chourio's also, we haven't seen Chourio this good.
Right.
So maybe I don't think we still haven't gotten a Milwaukee lineup. So
all right. Well, this is an example lineup for everybody here: Bradley, Brown, Trevino, Freeman, Iglesias, Vientos, Lindor, Ohtani, Hayward, and Grossman. This gets us that Mets Dodgers stack we've been talking about. The chat's been talking about. It's a way to go for you all. And then if you're on FanDuel, I got a lineup for you here as well. Let's pull this one up for everybody. There we go. Basically based on the same premise of the lineup we just built here. Hunter Brown is my pitcher, though. One guy over on FanDuel. Freeman, Iglesias, Vientos, Lindor, Ohtani, Hayward, Pages, and Grossman. It looks pretty familiar, doesn't it? Basically just built that lineup over on DraftKings. You can do it over on FanDuel as well. Because, again, $7,800 for Hunter Brown. It's pretty cheap for a guy that went for 58 and 49 and 46 in 3 of his last 4 starts. So you want to take advantage of this pricing over on FanDuel. There you go. Hunter Brown, Freddie Freeman, Jose Iglesias, Mark Vientos, Francisco Lindor, Shohei Ohtani, Jason Hayward, Andy Pages, and Robbie Grossman for everybody there. For you and our FanDuel friends, I know you'll all exist. If you have any other questions, again, make sure you get in that Discord. Make sure you go and become a member of the Fantasy Alarm family today. Again, QR code there on the screen. You can scan that or go to fantasyalarm.com/win. Use promo code Let's Go at checkout. Get your first month for less than $20 there. Our fantasy football draft guide is coming out soon. That is included. Everything behind the paywall included with your monthly subscription. If you want to go annually with us, you save 40% off the month-to-month cost there. So a huge discount if you sign up for the year, and you got everything we offer at Fantasy Alarm. So again, go check that out here today. We'll be back. No live show tomorrow because it's an early slate. We'll have the preview show ready to go and posted for you all tonight. And then we'll be in the Discord with an early play, but get you all ready for some day baseball on Thursday. James and I will be back live on Friday to get you all ready for the Friday main slate. Until then, everybody, good luck tonight, and we'll catch you all later.